Going to look at the just a short piece on the truth about faith and fear. And one of the intents of looking at this is that you think about faith and then you think about fear. There's like this clear distinction between those who have the courage to pursue and those who are so filled with doubt. So there's a text in the New Testament that talks about this mustard seed of faith. You can move mountains. Does anybody have any thought on what that mountain means at all?
Could it be talking about something that may represent a big obstacle in one's life?
Yeah, it could be. Anybody else? People got a hand up or something. Anybody else with that mustard seed of faith? Move mountains.
I mean, it doesn't take much faith for something that seems impossible for it to actually be possible.
Yes, it is an important feature. Uh, some people are so filled with doubt that it'll destroy the thing that they're seeking to establish because they really don't believe in it. They don't have the faith in it. Or they're so filled with fear, like fear and doubt are kind of parallels, but they're so filled with fear that it encumbers their decision making, it encumbers their ability to proceed, it'll encumber their interest. So when you look at that mustard seed of faith, um, to move mountains, I also reason and argue from the standpoint if it takes a mustard seed of faith to move it, then how much does a mustard seed of doubt do? Because if you doubt just a little, like just a little bit, then does that leave room open for more doubt to come in? And that kind of concept of a little leaven leavens a whole lump. And if people just doubt a little bit, just a little bit, does it open the possibility of them adding more doubt to their doubt, then adding more doubt to their doubt, then adding fear to their doubt, then saying, this isn't possible. This, I can't. Like, it won't happen. I don't know. I'm uncertain, right? So it's this important reality about faith and what faith will do. And in my experiences, people talk themselves cold out of dealing with the Bible based on fear. And some of the fear is what other people will say. Some of the fear is the rejection that they will suffer. Like, oh, well, my mom is going to think this, or my uncle, or my dad, or like if I tell them I don't, whatever, celebrate these things, or I can't participate in this, and they'll ridicule me, they'll call me names, and it creates this doubt that you only need a mustard seed of doubt, and then you add more doubt, and then you add more doubt, and then the person's like, look, I don't even want to be involved in this thing anymore. And it's interesting what people decide to give doubt to. So, for whatever you want to share, what are things that you have been afraid of, or what are your fears? And again, you don't have to go into grave details. I'm not talking about spiders. I'm not talking about, things like that. But what are some of your fears? Jordan, I see your hand up.
I just mentioned just a couple. One is a fear of the unknown or an unknown expected outcome. and then also the fear of not achieving a goal that I intended to achieve or an outcome that I intended to get.
Yeah, it's interesting when you said unknown outcome. Um, I've been presenting the Torah readings like on Wednesdays for the like this midweek group or such and such. And it's interesting as we read and talk about Abraham, I keep bringing out this point that Abraham never built a city, but all of the people around him built cities, meaning like the kings built cities. And Abraham was esteemed to be a mighty prince, according to like Genesis maybe 32, but he never built a city. And when you read in, let's say, Genesis 16 or Genesis 17, the Almighty appears on Abraham and tells him he's his shield, meaning his protection, and his exceedingly great reward. And when you read in the book of Hebrews, it said that he was looking for a city whose builder and maker was God, right? So why was it that Abraham never sought this city? I mean, never built a city, but he was looking for something he never obtained. And why did he keep on the path of continuing to seek for this thing and fight to obtain it through all of the adversities? Like, just keep in mind, the man was promised a child around 60, 70, 75 years old. He had a child that wasn't going to be the right one at 86 years old, and finally was told at 99 years old that he was going to have his own child at 100 years old. And he still had sex with his wife and had the child. But it's just interesting that there's no guarantee from the standpoint if you read it in real time or you experienced it in real time that he was going to get that outcome. But that's what faith is, pure convinced that that outcome is going to happen, like purely convinced. So yeah, that's a very valid point. Naya, I saw your hand up.
No, I think for me, my greatest fear when I was a youngster was of losing my family, being alone, and I would have like bad dreams of it. And coming to this truth, particularly, my whole family were sold out, on fire Christians, and I wasn't really concerned about any of the other worries that walking in truth might present. But really, my concern was, what if they don't come with me? And the Most High had to chasing me concerning it. So like if they don't come, you're not coming. I was like, I mean, I didn't say all that, Most High. But it really, I think that's when he really called me to task concerning it because it just was a fear that I had never kind of faced. And as long as we were all in Christianity, um, I was like, as long as we're together, we're fine. But this truth separates people. I had to face that when coming into it. And all praise to the Most High that He, kind of brought us all together on one accord. But it was kind of my biggest fear, and He's been dealing with me on it and kind of working that out of me. So I think that would be the thing that I was afraid of.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Yes, Jordan. So yeah.
I just have one more. For me, uh, growing up was dying too soon. I wanted to make sure I came to the knowledge of what the truth really was. And, um, if I died too soon, I didn't know where my soul would rest or what judgment I would be in. So just going before my time or my perceived time. So that's another fear I like to share.
Oh yeah. Anybody else? Fears? Anybody? Cool. So let's look at fear. One thing that fear often does is magnify our problems and minimizes the Most High's power. So when a person gets afraid, it's something that is inside of them. It is this lack of confidence. It is this lack of belief. It is the things that have happened in the past. It's the bad memories. It's the associations. It's everything but looking forward to the power of the Almighty being able to deliver. And if, like I just mentioned, the little leaven leavens a whole lump, it only takes a little bit of fear to then attach more fear. And then a person starts attaching other things, for example, worry. Like, well, I don't know how this is going to happen. And then what if this happens? And what if that happens? And a person can what if themselves to death. And through this process of keep asking these questions about their uncertainty, it begins to diminish their faith because it'll magnify the problems. And then in this regard, it'll even limit the ability of the Most High. And why do I say limit the ability of the Most High? Well, a lot of times he relies on our faith. In the book of Galatians, it talks about how Abraham was justified. The word justified, amongst other things, means cleared of guilt. He was cleared of guilt by faith. So if a person has no faith, then what it does is it minimizes the Most High power. If you don't believe this entity, no matter what circumstance that you are in, like literally, no matter what circumstance that you are in, if you don't believe that this entity that created the sun, this disk in the sky that hangs on absolutely nothing, it has came up or come up every day of your known existence. When you leave, it's going to come up. And according to the prophets, even though you can read and say, oh, it's going to be a new heaven and new earth. Listen, the sun is never going anywhere. Why? Because it's just as good as his word endureth forever. The sun is never going to go anywhere. Then you have the moon. And a lot of people read these texts and like, oh, we're going to have a new heaven and new earth. The planet isn't going anywhere. Like he made it, he ordained it to be in perpetuity. Like the order of how it exists will change. But again, these are other matters. But the entity that made these things, he made breath in your body. Your eyelids blink involuntarily. You have lungs and kidneys. And again, this right here does not sound like a dog barking. The power that made all of that can literally do anything but lie. So why are you magnifying your problem so much to the point that you think he can't change your very scenario? And the main reason a person would do that is because they don't believe. And this is why when you read the Old Testament and you read, the prophets and even the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, it's constantly telling you to remember the things of old that I did for you. Remember, I brought you out of Egypt. Well, why does he keep talking about this thing that happened in Egypt? Because you had a people who was in bondage to the most powerful nation on the face of the planet at that time. And if you ever studied the Assyrians and the power and the might of the Assyrians, the Egyptians crushed the Assyrians. Now, eventually, the Egyptians got crushed. If you even study the Babylonians, at one point, the Egyptians crushed the Babylonians and the Sumerians and the Akkadians, very powerful nations. But the Egyptians were more powerful. And Almighty said, look, I crushed them to smithereens. So I'm asking you and I'm begging you, remember the things that I did of old. Don't forget that. And when people do forget that, what they do is they're limiting the power of the Creator. So let's look at Numbers chapter 13, right? And here's an example to kind of elucidate this point that it had nothing to do with what the Creator was able to do or not do. It had something to do with the people and their lack of belief. So no matter what the circumstance, no, literally, and again, I can talk through personal experiences, like personal experience. And I'm sure everybody can talk through personal experiences. Like, do you remember that time when it totally looked like it was not going to work out and the Almighty delivered? But one thing that I see that he does not have a consistent habit of delivering is people who are afraid or that they're doused in fear. So Numbers chapter 13, and we'll just kind of focus on verses 31 and 31 through 33. Numbers 13 and 31 through 33.
I got it. Verse 31. But the men who had gone up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we.
So this is when Moses sent the 10 spies into the land of Canaan. 12 or the 12 spies, one from each tribe, they saw all of these beautiful things in the land. Uh, I don't know. Have y'all ever seen what do you call that thing? An avocado?
It- just an avocado tree or the plant?
Yeah, just one avocado.
Mhm.
How big was it?
I mean, depends on what we're talking about. The Haas avocado is bigger than the one from Mexico, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
decent size.
Have you
Probably
seen
like
them
this sized.
say
Though
that?
the ones I saw in Ghana were much larger.
How big?
Probably about, they looked like a small melon, so probably about two big man's hands worth of avocado.
How many inches, give or take?
I'm not great with that. Let's see.
What
Maybe,
size shoe do you wear, and was it your foot size or larger? I mean,
yes,
you
it was
probably
like 9 inches.
okay, right. So, um, Nick, you may have seen some larger fruits and vegetables in the island.
I was just talking with Stacy. We've seen some pretty big avocados in Jamaica. The islands, I mean, they're huge. Usually, like one will feed the family or whatever dinner we're having.
Now, again, my limited worldview, we went to Havana, we were in Cuba, and I met a brother named Fernando. I spent quite a amount of time with Fernando, and he was like, "Yeah, man, you can come by my house and get some avocados," because we lived around the corner from and this man pulled an avocado off the tree that had to be about 9 to 12 inches long. I have pictures of it and I can show it. This was a huge avocado, and I was only used to the ones that you can kind of put in your hand and they're about as big as a small orange. My uncle was in Israel and he was telling me about the oranges and the citrus fruits over there and how big they are. And my point is that these people saw some extremely large fruits and vegetables to the point that they had to carry them 2 men at a time on bundles and bushes. And when they came back, they gave this report, like, yeah, nah, we can't take the land. Like, oh, it's some good stuff over there, but nah, we can't do it, right? So that was verse 31. Keep reading.
Yes. Verse 32. And they gave the children of Israel an evil report of the land which they had spied out, saying, The land through we have gone as spies is a land eating up its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it were men of great size. 33. And we saw there the Nephilim, sons of Anak of the Nephilim, and we were like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and so we were in their eyes.
And we talked about this Nephilim. I'm not getting into that, but they're just, some people may have been tall, but also people were of a different uh, social status also. And he said we were grasshoppers in their eyes. Now, what does a grasshopper represent? Now, just in plain language, if anybody who's on this line, which is, you 5'5" or better, if you walk up on a grasshopper, that grasshopper is going to take off running. And he's essentially saying this was the same thing that was happening to us. We did not have the ability, like we were too minuscule in their sight. Pick it up at verse 14, and you can start at 1. We're going to read down to verse 9. Now, we're talking about fear. This is the concept that we're talking about. 14 and verses 1 through 9.
Verse 1 in chapter 14. Then all the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel grumbled against Moshe and against Aharon. And all the congregation said to them, if only we had died in the land of Mitzrayim, or if only we had died in this wilderness. And why is Yahuwah bringing us to this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and children should become a prey? Would it not be better for us to turn back to Mitzrayim? And they said to each other, let us appoint a leader, and let us turn back to Mitzrayim. Then Moshe and Aharon fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel. And Yehoshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Yefuneh, who were among those who had spied out the land, tore their garments. And they spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, the land we passed through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. If Yahuwah has delighted in us, then he shall bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which is flowing with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against Yahuwah, nor fear the people of the land, for they are our bread, and their defense has turned away from them, and Yahuwah is with us. Do not fear them.
So here we noticed a couple things, right? And then this again, it's not extremely deep, but just want to bring out a couple of points. It says that they brought an evil report. And essentially what this is saying is that when a person has lack of faith, it's evil. And it's important to know that because no matter what the circumstance is, if an individual or a collective does not believe that the entity that, again, I say it like this, people might not like it, but it's this substance that comes out of a man's body that look like snot that turns into a heart beating, blood pumping replica of the people that created it. What do you mean you don't believe? Like just seeing that alone. And then if you ever seen a seed grow, like, all right, I put this seed in the ground, this little piece of like shell will die and turn into a tomato plant. Then green leaves will pop up off of it and it'll produce like 10 other tomatoes. And the more I cut it, it'll grow back. And when you watch that process, what do you mean you don't believe? It's evil. So the Almighty is saying through the mouth of the prophets here that when a person or when the group was coming back and they were saying, we wish that we would have died in Egypt, or they're saying it's better for us to return to Egypt. And then they're ultimately saying, yeah, we're not going to be able to do this. That's wicked. Lack of faith is wicked. So again, no matter how dire the circumstances, excuse me, our role and responsibility is to trust the Creator and not fear. So here's again an example. Verse 13 in the same text. So they were afraid. They're telling Joshua and Caleb, uh, yeah, no, we're unable to accomplish it. And then when they told, when the 10 spies told the rest of the people the report, then the rest of the people hardened their heart and could not believe. And again, this is the danger of disbelief, or this is the danger of fear, or this is the danger of being afraid and lack of faith. And what did Joshua and Caleb say? Only rebel not against Yah, neither fear the people of the land, for they are bread to us. Now, again, unless you have some hard bread, you just easily rip bread in pieces. And their defenses departed from them. Why? Because we have a greater power that is with us. And he just crushed the greatest power that existed. So you wouldn't have anything to worry about. But again, they were worried. Verse 13.
Verse 13, and Moshe said to Yahuwah, then the Mitzrites shall hear it.
Oh,
For
verse 12.
okay, no problem.
No, you start, yeah, do 11 to 13. Sorry.
Okay. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, how long shall I be scorned by these people? And how long shall I not be trusted by them with all the signs which I have done in their midst? Let me strike them with the pestilence and disinherit them and make of you a nation greater and mightier than they. And Moshe said to Yahuwah, then the Mitzrites shall hear it, for by your power you brought these people up from their midst. Keep going to 14.
No, that's good. So again, the Almighty was saying, look, let me just go ahead and kill these people because I'm wasting my time with these people. And why was he wasting their time, wasting his time? They don't believe. No matter what the obstacle, like, don't y'all just remember all this great stuff I did yesterday? But this is the reality of people. They soon forget, and they need new miracles every day to prove whether they're going to keep the services of the Almighty and decide to worship Him or not. And the people who need that many signs and that much evidence and that much proof, it's all on you. It's your faith. And when you have faith, He's not going to leave you empty. He's going to make sure He comes through and fulfills the longing of the desire. But sometimes that faith has to be encouraged. So Yah's presence is the solution to fear, right? So Moses was being told, look, let me go ahead and knock all these people off, kill them, and I'll just start over with you. So the solution to fear is the Creator. And when we remember that not only He's with us, like He is, because the text says, he that cometh to the Almighty must believe that He is. So if you believe that He is, and you concentrate on Him more than your problems, if you believe that He is, what situation can He not turn around? Like, just name one situation that He can't turn around. Like, name one. Like, it's 10 million people and we fighting against them. Like, well, you talking about this entity that controls all of the elements, like all of the wind, all of creation. Like, He can just send, and again, you can look this up, but often when you read in the Bible, and I think we looked at this before, this text or this thought on the east wind is associated with His power to send evil on the face of some adversary of His. So He literally can send every bee in a country in the direction of the opponent that you're at odds with. And no matter how mighty the opponent, who gonna fight with like, 6 million bees? Like, who's gonna fight with the bees? Like, what can you do to fight against that? Or a windstorm, or a cloud of dust. What can you do to fight against that? Even with all of America's weaponry and machinery, and any other nation's weaponry and machinery, like he controls all of the elements. He could just magnify the sun so hot that look, you can't go outside. And none of the machines they can melt. Like it's just, I mean, to be in control of that many elements, we have to remember that he is and he's with us as long as we're with him. So we can face any uncertainty and danger with that courage. You see here that they did not have that courage. And what did it do with him? It angered him. And it said that that lack of courage or that lack of faith was evil. Well, I just don't believe it's going to work. Well, yeah, whether you believe it's not going to work or you believe it's going to work, you're right. If you don't believe it's going to work, guess what? Your efforts are going to align with it not working. If you believe it's going to work, then your efforts are going to align with it working. Sometimes I'm surprised at the amount of people who get into whatever situations that they get into that require faith, and then they attach it with so much disbelief. Like I don't like it's just I'm always surprised by it, like, oh sheesh. No wonder they didn't make it. They never really were convinced. So his presence is the solution to our fear. So let's look at a couple things on faith, right? Again, I can wax poetic about fear. There's a few other things that I want to think about when it comes to fear. But notice this. Faith reminds us that God is greater than anything we face. Let's look at Psalms chapter 27. Psalms 27. And I want you to think about this Psalms in this particular way. Psalms 27 and verse 1.
I got it. Yahuwah is my light and my deliverance. Whom should I fear?
So the question is, like, if he is your light and your salvation or your deliverance, really, who or what should you fear? Like, what is really your concern? Again, your claim is that you serve, this is your claim, if this is your claim, you serve this entity that you can't see, that beyond this planet that you live on, it's supposedly other planets, and then above this planet and the galaxy that it floats around in, like these just big, supposed disk in the sky, and it's, whether it's 7 of them, 8 of them, 9 of them, some of them have moons. Then you have those who the sun is providing light to all of them, and you got these stars, and above all of these quasars and galaxies is some divine being that we don't even like. I don't even know what the being looks like, but that is your alignment, and you're deeply concerned about something that's happening down here on the planet. Like even if you ever flew in a plane, the further you get up in the air, the more minuscule everything looks like on the ground. People start to look like ants. Tall buildings start to look like Lego blocks. Now, imagine if you're the Almighty, just in terms of you being on the plane looking down and him being up in this celestial atmosphere and the Shamayim looking down at you in the heavens. What are you talking about? You afraid of something? Like what if he's with you, why would you really be afraid? And the only reason you're really afraid is you don't believe in him. And then if you don't believe in him, then that's evil because you didn't even create yourself. You can't even make one hair on your head grow or change another color. You can't wake yourself up tomorrow, even if you set an alarm. If he said it's done, it's done. Like, what are you really afraid of? Like here, he's your strength, and whom shall I be afraid? Now, we'll keep reading this even though it wasn't originally in the notes. Read verse 2 on down.
Verse 2. We'll finish verse 1. Yahuwah is the refuge of my life. Whom should I dread? Verse 2. When evildoers come against me to eat up my flesh, my adversaries and my enemies, they shall stumble and fall. Though an army encamps against me, my heart does not fear. Though battle comes up against me, even then, I would be trusting.
So here again, think about this being David. Put yourself in his shoe. Imagine just for a moment, you're at war, it's 400 of y'all, and a military with 400,000 with horses and battlement start rushing your direction. Do you still have the same level of confidence? And if you don't, it's natural, don't get me wrong, like your carnal mind is just gonna go back to like, what are we gonna do? But the reality is you don't have to do anything. That's not your function. Your function is to rely on the entity that created you. If he promised you that, look, I'll take care of that. That's not a problem at all. I don't care if it's 10 times. I don't care if it's 4 million people up against you. Notice David's words, and this is how you should read this. Though an army or an host should surround me, my heart shall not fear. Well, faith reminds us that the Almighty is greater than anything we face. So it's 14 of us, it's 40,000 of them. My heart shall not fear. It's 200 of us, it's 200,000 of them. Though they surround us, my heart shall not fear. Why would you be afraid? Now, again, fear to the carnal mind is natural. But what are you really afraid of? You don't lack the confidence in your maker. So here it says, the war should arise against me, in this will I be confident. What is the confidence? Read verse 4.
Verse 4. One matter I ask of Yahuwah, this I seek, to dwell in the house of Yahuwah all the days of my life, to see the pleasantness of Yahuwah, and to inquire in his hekal. Keep going.
Yeah, you can keep going.
Okay. Verse 5. For in the day of evil he hides me in his booth. In the concealment of his tent he conceals me. On a rock he raises me up. In verse 6. And now my head is lifted up above my enemies all around me, and I slaughter in his tent with slaughters of sounding. I sing, yes, I sing praises to Yahuwah. Hear, O Yahuwah, when I cry with my voice, and show me favor and answer me.
Skip down to verse 13 and 14.
Verse 13. What if I had not believed to see the goodness of Yahuwah in the land of the living? Wait on Yahuwah, be strong, and let him strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on Yahuwah.
So here he's saying you have to wait on him and he'll strengthen your heart. So, like the moment people are rushing to you, imagine, again, if you study the geography of the Hebrews that came out of Egypt, one thing is true geographically. They took the hardest route possible to leave Egypt. And when they took the hardest route possible geographically, they ran into a body of water. And with the Egyptians hard on their back, doubt kicked in. And some of them, I'm sure, were turning on Moses just because this is the way people are when things Like, I don't know what's going to happen next. Well, what did the psalmist say? He said, wait on Yah, be of good courage, be patient, and he will strengthen your heart. But the waiting time gives the opportunity for you to show your disbelief, or it gives the opportunity to show your fidelity in belief. Because again, it literally doesn't matter what the circumstance is. Doesn't matter. Like, I only got X amount of dollars in my bank account. I don't know how such and such is gonna happen. Well, I mean, wait on Yah and be of good courage. And he's gonna bring the scenario to what? Strengthen your heart. Meaning he's gonna set a victory in order, and then that's gonna be like, oh, he delivered me. And then that should set the precedence for you having the faith the next time. So this is what the psalmist says. Now let's go back to Second Chronicles chapter 20. Second Chronicles chapter 20. So the text is telling us to wait and be of good courage, and he will strengthen our heart.
I got this one.
Yes, sir. Second Chronicles 10 and then 20 and sorry, Second Chronicles 20 and then you can start at verse 10.
So verse 10 says, excuse me. And now see the children of Ammon and Moab and Mount Seir, whom you would not let Israel evade when they came out of the land of Mizraim, for they turned from them and did not destroy them. And see, they are repaying us by coming in to drive us out of your possession, which you have given to us to inherit. Our Elohim, would you not judge them? For we are powerless against this great enemy that is coming against us, and we do not know what to do, but our eyes are upon you. And all Yehuda, with their little ones, their wives, and their children, stood before Yahuwah. And the spirit of Yahuwah came upon Yazael, son of Zachariah, son of Benaiah, son of Yael, son of Mattaniah, a Levite of the son of Asaph, in the midst of the assembly. And he said, listen, all Yehuda, and you inhabitants of Jerusalem, the sovereign and sovereign Jehoshaphat. Thus say Yahuwah to you, do not fear, nor be afraid of the face of this great army, for the battle is not yours, but Elohim's.
Now, whose is the battle?
Elohim.
Man, and again, this is in the days of Jehoshaphat, where Amnon or Ammon and Moab came against the children of Israel in a mighty way. But just keep in mind what the psalmist said. The number that they had was greater. They felt that they're in verse 12, it says, O our Elohim, wilt thou judge them? For we have no might against this great company that cometh against us, neither neither know we what to do, but our eyes are upon thee. Listen, the challenge that arises, that's not my problem. I tell my wife all the time, I don't like, look, if I'm not worried, you don't be worried. Like, this is getting ready to happen. That is not my concern. Like, we need whatever, $16,000 by Monday. That is not my concern. I'm not stressing over the weekend. I'm like, why are you so Hakuna Matata? Like, why is it no worries in your mind? And again, do I have some concerns? Yeah. Am I petrified at the point of death? No. Me producing whatever I'm supposed to do, all I have to do is put the seed in the ground. I have to water it. The rest is up to the Creator. I can't do anything. So now they have this big army of Amnon and Moab coming against them. Excuse me. Rightfully, they're a bit concerned, and they turn to the Creator and says, the battle is not ours. It's not even our responsibility. It's your responsibility. please do what you always do. Take care of us. And again, we don't have to read the whole account, but uh, Amnon and Moab was utterly destroyed. So what does that show us? That it's the faith, and the faith is in him, not in our ability per se. Like David, as a prophet who was mighty in war, said, "The Almighty taught my hands to war." And I don't win victories by my own strength. It's really him. And the more that I begin to practice this letting go of, the more I understand it. The more I'm personally in these quandaries. Like, I don't know how this is going to happen. I don't have to know how. I do know that it is going to happen, but how is not even, that's not even my domain to worry about. Like, we need whatever by whatever. Like, that is his role and responsibility. My job is to do the work that I'm asked to do. If I'm asked to go fight against the army, I don't care if it's 17 of us and it's 17,000 of them. Go out there and start fake swing. Not, I mean, do it for real, but swing your sword up, swing it down, poke it like you're supposed to poke it, pull it back like you're supposed to pull it back. And then when you done doing all that, like, man, I killed 700 people by myself. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You go swing the sword. The rest is up to him. So we see an example here where David said, I don't care if an army compass me about. I will be confident in this. Wait on Yah, be of good courage. He will strengthen your heart. And now we see an example where in Chronicles, Amnon and Moab in the days of Jephthah or Josaphat, was it, surrounded the people and they were confident. Like the battle is yours. This is all up to you. Now, we looked at before, and just kind of repeating again, this thought is Yah's presence is the solution. When we remember that he is with us and that he is, right, we can face any uncertainty and danger with courage. And it is not our responsibility to deliver the victory. That is his job, no matter how dire the circumstances. Now, when a person has faith, it helps increase more faith. So if you've ever been in a situation where you were nervous, you were afraid, or maybe you were faithful and had conviction that it'd work out, and the people that with you did not have faith, then their faith may have been increased. And then the more you do that, their faith is increased. And the more you do that, then their faith is increased. But if you walk in with doubt, it's that same evil report that the 10 had with the rest of the nation of Israel that were coming out of Egypt. You're making people afraid by you being afraid. You're sowing seeds of doubt in other people potentially because you doubt. If you're full of conviction, like, oh, I know this is going to work out. No problem. This is going to work out. If you're convinced of that, then it's more likely to increase other people's faith, especially when you get the result. Isaiah chapter 41, and we got about 4 or 5 more texts. Again, this is a lighter study, but Isaiah 41 and verse 10, it should be.
I got it.
I
Oh, go ahead, Jay.
verse 10. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not look around, for I am your Elohim. I shall fortify you. I shall also help you. I shall also uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness.
So again, he's saying, don't fear. Like, I'll strengthen you. I'll help you. Again, I want you to think about this in the context of this supreme being that made cantaloupe, which I can't stand, pineapple, strawberry, pears, like 30 varieties of apples, maybe 10,000 varieties of apples. I don't know. I haven't tasted all the apples. Oranges, watermelon, He made, you know, aardvarks and antelopes and whales and turtles. All of his grand imagination that he articulated in the face of the earth, water and rain and roses and tulips, all of this grand imagination. He's turned around and said, look, fear not, I am with you. Don't be afraid. What are you really afraid about? Like when we think about it, like what are we really afraid? Like, I got to go to my job and tell them I want off on a Saturday. Why are you scared of them? Tell them. Oh, I might lose my job. This may happen. This may happen. This may happen. That may happen. That may. Then you worry yourself to death, and now you decide that you're not going to do it because of fear. Well, the text is saying that that fear is evil, but the text is also saying that don't be afraid. The great mighty power that is with you. Hebrews chapter 11. We won't read the whole text, but the text on faith that is often noted to be the book or the chapter on faith. Hebrews chapter 11.
I got it. Start at verse 1.
Yes, sir.
And belief or faith is the substance of what is expected, the proof of what is not seen.
All right. So, how would you explain that? Faith is the belief of what is expected. How would you explain that?
Um,
I, if I
I
may,
yeah, go ahead.
I'll say it's the confidence that what you're setting out to do is going to happen.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. What are you gonna say, Jalen?
I was gonna say I actually saw a video today, or yeah, maybe it was today earlier. And it was someone that it was an elder that was saying, in order to believe something, uh, you can't you can't know it, or you can't see it, or you can't touch it. So like if it's something that you can see, so like I can see this computer sitting in front of me, so I know that the computer's there. But if it's something that you can't see or that you can't like tangibly touch or know, then that's what belief is. That's you believing that it's there when you can't see it, when you can't touch it.
Hmm. Naya, I saw your hand.
Yes, sir. I think the operative word is substance, right? So substance is something tangible, something physical. And the reason why I say it's operative is because when we follow that up with of the thing that's expected, expectation is intangible, but the substance is the physical property of that thing that is expected. So when you have expectation of something and the expectation is so strong that it gives rise to substantive um, expression. And I always go back to chair, right? Like a chair is just a chair. There are some that are sturdy, there are some that aren't. You know, you sat on a chair and it's broken, and we have an expectation of what a chair's function is. And the substance of our belief in the property of the chair is the tangibility that we express when we try to sit down in that chair. Right. Now we've all sat down in a chair and done it gingerly because we weren't quite sure, right? But you won't know until you put your weight on it. And then you know whether or not it is what you thought that it was, whether that expectation was dashed or disappointed. And so I think we talked about it also last week, this idea of faith being so secure or holding so tightly to the covenant that you have with the Most High that it gives rise to physical expression of that covenant, right? So I trust, like what you're saying, we talk about, oh, I can't, go ask for the time off because I could lose my job. But I think anyone who's been around long enough knows that you could literally lose your job at any time for any reason. It's all at will, and you have no idea. I mean, maybe you work in a union, but even then, there's just a whole host of situations that can happen. There's a million things that you have no understanding of, no factors that you have no control over. and it's all been in his hands anyway. And so when he's made a promise to you to supply all of your needs according to his riches and glory, and you hold on to that and you believe in it so much that you're willing to rely on it to your detriment, I will now show physical expression of my belief in that covenant or how tightly I'm holding on to that covenant. And I'm going to do what you said because my belief is so tangible that it has to take physical form. And I think that is kind of a thing that it kind of brings my mind back to because substance is always, it's matter, right? It's a form of matter. And matter is the things that our reality are built off of. But the belief is what gives rise to that matter or that execution of the physical or substantive matter that we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think that the and did anybody else want to comment on that before? Sure. I think that the one way to look at it, beyond, I mean, I'm kind of adding to what y'all said, is that faith is the substance of things hoped for. Like it is the actual, let's say, like the manifestation of the thing that you're seeking to realize. So if, like Jalen, you mentioned, like it was a cute computer in front of you, but let's say the computer was not in front of you, but you visioned that you could create the computer, or you vision, like I don't know if you've ever saw two kids playing with a styrofoam cup with a string attached, and they were playing with a telephone, right? That was like a modern, like a play telephone. Somebody had to envision that that device or that play device could turn into a tangible thing for me to call a person that is in Iowa and I'm in Chicago, or in China and I'm in America. Somebody had to believe that, and then they had to go about performing the activity to bring it to bear, right? And that's essentially the imunah, or the faith. You believing it, or you being convinced that it was possible, you did the activity to realize the result. So when a person is saying, like, look, uh, it's an army coming up against me. Well, I got to do the activity to realize the result. Now, the activity may be fighting, the activity may be praying. Again, Abraham sought for this city whose builder and maker was the Almighty. If you, again, study the history of the Sumerians and the Akkadians and the Chaldees and Ur, who Abraham came out of, pretty popular civilization, pretty well endowed with the sciences and mathematics and this, that, and the third. And he left all of that because he was being told, look, I'm going to set you up a whole new government. And he believed that and left. And you have to do the activity that's attached to the ideal in your head if you want the result. And that's, again, part of faith. Now, we can skip down to uh, verse 6.
Verse 6 says, but without belief or without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he who comes to Elohim has to believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who earnestly seek him.
Right. So it's important that to note that without faith it's impossible to please him. Now skip back to verse 3 because it talked about this faith that is understood.
All right, so verse 3, by belief, we understand that the ages were prepared by the word of Elohim, so that when what is seen was not made, so that what is seen, it was not made of what is visible.
So I like the way it reads in this text here. It says, through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of Elohim, so that the things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. So we don't really know what the sun is made of per se, or like trees, but they were framed through words at one point. Now we just believe that those words made those trees and those trees exist. We weren't there when it happened. We just have to go on. We see the result. We're going to attach it to those words that were said back then. And without that faith, it's impossible to please the Creator. So this faith is paramount, right? Let's look at 1 John chapter 4 and 18. It's just a couple more after this. 1 John
Right.
4 and 18.
And it's that same concept, like if we think about like cells or atoms or whatever, like the things that make up person, places, and things.
Right. We can't see them, right? Like we don't, I don't really know what an apple is made of. Like you can tell me all day long, you put this seed in the ground and it's going to turn into, now I'm going to put the seed in the ground because I want the result. I can't tell you what it's comprised of. It actually, when you think about it hard enough, it actually don't even make sense. I put this one little speck of something that's half the size of my fingernail inside some dirt. It dies, then it resurrects multiple things that look like it. That don't even make sense.
It's crazy.
No, it is. It's crazy. It don't, like when you think about it, that makes absolutely no sense. But do you put the seed in the ground and get the result? You got to put the seed in the ground, like, because you won't be able to see the result unless you do the activity. That's what Imunah is about. And one of the reasons, again, we shouldn't be endowed with fear. Got to do it to get the result. And I tell you, every time I see fruits and vegetables growing, I mean, I think the cell phone and the computer are great devices, and you can use them. I think an automobile is great. I think a plane is great. I just don't think it's greater than a seed turning into multiple replicas of itself with more seeds inside of it that you can put multiple replicas of itself. And you can just do this endlessly. Like you just can keep doing it over and over again. I think that that's better than the airplane. Personally, I just think I don't fly airplanes, but I'm like that. It's just amazing. 1 John 4:18.
I got it. Verse 18. We know that everyone having been born of Elohim does not sin, but the one having been born of Elohim guards himself, and the wicked one does not touch him.
That's a great verse. We're in 4 and 18.
Oh, wow. Wow. Here we go. Sorry.
All good. Good verse.
Uh, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear holds punishment, and he who fears has not been made perfect in love.
So when a person thinks about this fear versus this faith, like when we talk about the truth about faith and fear, perfect love casts out fear. And if a person is afraid, then you could also conclude that they don't have this perfect love. But you could also conclude that fear comes with torment. Torment. So if you're afraid of something, you got to worry. If you're not afraid, you don't worry. If you're afraid of something, then you get these butterflies in your stomach. That's tormenting. Like every time you got to face this thing, you're like, oh, this may happen and that may happen and this may happen. Well, none of that may happen at all. It might not. It may just work out exactly how it's supposed to work out. But if you bring that fear in, then that's going to accompany you because, again, I would say that if it take a mustard seed of faith to move a mountain, I say it take a mustard seed of doubt to place that mountain right back in front of you. And that doubt is going to grow and grow and grow. And that little leaven is going to leaven a whole lump to the point where that you don't even think it's possible, just like the children of Israel didn't think it was possible to fight against these people like, oh, they were much more mightier than I can guarantee you they wasn't mightier than the Egyptians, who he just decimated completely. But this perfect love, it casts out fear, and fear has torment, as the text says. Let's move on. A couple more verses. Psalms chapter 56 and verse 3. Psalms 56 and verse 3.
Yeah, I got it. Psalms 56 and 3. In the day I am afraid, I trust in you. In Elohim, whose word I praise, in Elohim I have trusted. I do not fear. What could flesh do to me?
So this, again, a legitimate question. Even if somebody could destroy you, do they have the ability to destroy your eternal life?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
No.
And you think about when Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah was like, if you don't bow down and worship this stuff, we're gonna throw you in the flyer. They pretty much was like, and we're not concerned about that. What we're not doing is worshiping these idols that you told us to. That's a full faith. And that full faith cast out fear. And then here it's saying, I will put my trust in you. What can flesh do to me? And flesh can do some things. I mean, if you study the Inquisition, they're like pulling people's fingernails apart and torturing people to death. And that sounds pretty frightening. Like if you knew that you were next in line to be tortured to death and you start thinking about your flesh, like, all right, they're gonna pull my fingernails off one by one, like each fingernail, that sounds tormenting. And if you still carry that same attitude, like, hey, what can flesh do to me? But if you put it in the context of, yeah, there's a greater thing that I'm looking forward to, so this present life doesn't really mean anything to me. But if you love this present world and all of the trappings and accoutrements of it, then it's probably more likely that you don't want to go through that type of suffering. Again, none of us have been through that. Don't wish that on anybody, but I'm just making a point that at least those who were martyrs for the faith, they had already put their head in a celestial place. Meaning, this is what the Messiah was saying, set not your heart on the things on earth where moth and thieves do destroy and corrupt, but set your affections on high. So the things that happen on the planet, just, I think, Jordan was saying when we started, yeah, as you reading during the course of the day, like if you read the Bible versus looked at YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and social media and news, it kind of like places you in this space where it's just like, I don't really care about none of this stuff. Like I'm so ready to be away from these humans. Like I only want to live and abide with people who want to do the will of the Creator. But the even thing about that is getting people to have faith to do that. Like people probably believe they'll be a millionaire first before they'll come like, hey, let's all do something so we can do it together. Because people are afraid of that. I think this is our last text, Proverbs 9 and 10. Proverbs 9 and verse 10.
I will take that. 10. Verse 10. The fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the set apart one is understanding. By,
So, yeah, go ahead.
for by me your days become many, and years of life are added to you.
So if there is something that we should be afraid of, the beginning of all wisdom is to fear the Creator. Everything else is just everything else. So again, short study, um, but kind of looking at the truth on faith and fear. And part of the reality is that we should not be afraid. Like there's nothing really to be afraid of. And it's only our own minds drafting up the worst possible scenarios to make us avoid the things that the Creator is asking us to do. And again, once we have this fear, it's just, it cripples us. So the role and the goal is we just need to focus on what he's asked us to do and focused on putting all of the responsibility on the outcome on him. We just have to walk through the process with full assurance, like, oh, it's gonna work out. Like it's all gonna work out. And to me, that's my constant conviction. Oh, it's all gonna work out. Like it all work out. And if I suffer some loss, like, okay, that was part of his plan anyway, but it'll all work out. So that's a, short version of the faith and fear study. And I will pause there. Thoughts, questions, comments.
Yeah. I say, um, no, that this whole concept of this fear, man, is the Most High hates it, man. He does not like when his people are fearful, and especially when that fear causes them to lack faith. Like we talked about, it's so many examples within the scripts just about how, man, he literally destroys people for being fearful, man. So many different times throughout the script. So I think it's definitely something that's imperative for us to understand, and for us to get to that level of having that faith that we need to have. So, man, I just started reading some of the stories. Just even that one in Numbers that we did read, where they came back and said they gave this evil report. Um, and then you can also, on the flip side of that, you can look at all the stories where individuals had faith and the blessings and the prosperity that came out of it. Right? You think about um, Daniel in the lions. I mean, just the major story. I like Daniel in the lions den. Right? You think about the three Hebrew boys. You think about even Noah in the ark. Right? He had to have faith to be able to build that. You think about Moshe parting the Red Sea, like all these different stories. It's like you see where this prosperity and these blessings come out of, being obedient and having this faith. But man, it's like it's day and night when you look at when people are fearful and when you look at and when they're faithful. So it's definitely a good lesson.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing. I think the the faith of like it's built in layers. So, we could argue that Abraham had faith and was fully convinced of leaving Ur of the Chaldees because a promise was made to him. Then we can argue that he had faith to, the Almighty is going to protect him in different scenarios. Then we can also say if we put ourselves in the seat of the patriarch himself, it's not unreasonable to consider when you place yourself in the person's shoes, like, shall a child be born to a man that's 100 years old? Like that was a big age for him that it did not sound reasonable to him. But even so, he still has sex with his wife. And when you read it, his wife said, shall I, being old, have pleasure with my master? Like me and him are not even sleeping together with each other like that no more, right? It get to a point where, again, I don't hang around 90-year-olds and know the sex patterns of 90-year-olds, but ain't nobody that active at 94 probably. It's just 99. You just probably not even moving that way. But he still did the activity and got the result, right? But at first it was like, oh, I don't know about this. And it sounded reasonable to him. So I think, yeah, to your point, it is night and day. And I tell you, man, for myself, I mean, as much as I hate fornicators, I mean, I despise fornicators and fornicating. I can't stand when people are afraid. I'm like, get away from me. Don't even be around me. Like I'm so convinced it's gonna work out. I'm so convinced. I'm brainwashed. Like some of it may be my own. I'm gonna put as much energy as possible myself. The rest of it is gonna be, look, he's gonna take care of all of it. Let's just go do it, whatever
Yeah,
it is. So,
yeah, that fearfulness, man, it's an energy about it that's just not. It's not. I'm trying to see what's the word. Yeah, like you say, you just don't want it around you. Just don't want it around
yeah, I mean, I have to do better because it makes me hostile. I'm just telling you, just like at
you.
first it's just like, all right, cool, no, chill out, man, we good. Then the more people like, it starts making me hostile. Like, look, I will duct tape your mouth and be quiet. I don't want to hear nothing about the word fear. It's just not like we have no reason to be afraid. No, let's just keep moving. Like it'll all work out. And
Mm.
again, I'm not here you tell me, but I can't imagine like this man gonna get us killed. Ah, they're gonna catch us. They're gonna catch. Yeah, they're gonna catch us. If you keep saying they're gonna catch us, shut up. Like, let's go do the thing. So, Jordan, I see you.
This is another great teaching. So many elements, just so much of your like past teachings are coming to mind when talking about this. But there's a few things that like really stood out to me about with fear. I think the overarching message that's really ringing out to me is we have to have the proper perspective and a much better view of the creator. You said some stuff about he created the sun, created the moon, created all this stuff even before us. And I don't think sometimes we stop to think like how powerful does the one that created it have to be in order for that to run systematically without our intervention at all. And it goes back to what you say, like what forms your belief, and that's where a lot of that fear comes from sometimes is fear, just as well as faith, comes from hearing. What are you constantly putting in? Because um, Yahusha said it, that uh, it's not necessarily what comes into a person, but what comes out of them that defiles them. Fear, when you speak it, that defiles you, that's sin and that's rebellion. And we have to remind ourselves frequently about what the Most High has done because we're quick to forget. You know, oh God, will you please get me out of this situation? You make these vows and these promises. As soon as you get out of that situation, you go back to an old mindset. You go back to the mindset that you previously had before you got out of that situation. And so what really has to change is your heart on the Most High. Because when you have that kind of view that, okay, if he did all this for me, I'm going to be good. I'm still here. I'm still in the land of the living, no matter what the circumstances are. And so I think that's the biggest thing I got from today's message. But another thing you're reading in Genesis, or we were reading in Genesis, was about the evil report versus the good report. I looked at it as a little bit of voting when the numbers of the majority sometimes are deceiving and kind of voting. Two out of the 12 said things, we're going to be good. 10 out of the 12 said we're not going to be good because it looked through a more sort of a carnal perspective rather than we just came out of Egypt. Our 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 entity defeated all their gods. We left out of there with substance, a lot of substance. We just defeated the biggest empire known to man at that time, and we came out successful. And now we're getting ready to go to our own nation and our own land. And so I'm not trying to be super long here, but there's a lot of elements that we're taught tonight, and we're pulled on tonight. And so I just very grateful that I was here tonight, and this is a really good teaching on faith over fear. And it's a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. But it happens in phases and also in steps. And so I think the one of the things we got to continue to work on is doing this daily and relying upon the Most High. Because last thing I'll say is once Israel got, they became a nation, Israel and Judah, they started to rely on those political powers of Assyria, of Babylon, of Egypt. And the Most High through his prophets kept telling them about who brought you out of Egypt, who got you to this place. And they forgot because they weren't putting into their mind whose they belong to. And so with that, I'll yield to any other thoughts for tonight.
Yeah, take a look at this, right? One of my favorite excerpts here. This is
Josephus.
yeah, this is one of my favorite excerpts, right? It says how Abraham, our forefather, went out of the land of Chaldees and lived in the land of Canaan, but now Judea. Now Abraham, having no son of his own, adopted Lot, his brother, Haran's son, and his wife Sarai's brother, and he left the land of Chaldea when he was 75 years old, and at the command of God went into Canaan, and therein he dwelt himself and left it to his posterity. He was a person of great sagacity, wisdom, like being a sage, like wisdom, both for the understanding of all things and persuading his hearers, and not mistaken in his opinions, for which reason he began to have higher notions of virtue than others had, and he determined to renew and change the opinion all men happen to have concerning God. Right? So he would reason with people, as Josephus would say, and he would change people's opinions. But notice this, and this is talking about faith, essentially. And I'm right here, if you can see the highlighted. For he was the first that ventured to publish the notion that there was but one God, the creator of the universe, and that as to other gods, if they had contributed anything to the happiness of men, that each of them afforded it only according to his appointment and not by their own power. This is his opinion was derived from the irregular phenomenon that were visible both at land and sea. The irregular phenomenon was the things that he can look at through the earth and on the planet to see, like to visually look upon. So his opinion was derived from the irregular phenomenon that were visible by both land and sea, as well as those that happen to the sun and moon and all the heavenly bodies. Thus, he said, if these bodies had power of their own, now mind you, like the Chaldeans, the Egyptians, the other nations, they worship the literal sun, right? And then they view like the pharaoh as the embodiment of that disk in the sky. So he said, if these bodies, meaning the sun, the moon, the stars, etc., had any power of their own, they would certainly take care of their own regular motions, meaning the sun could take a day off if it wanted to. So Abraham noticed this and brought it to the attention of the men he would talk to. But since they do not preserve such regularity, they make it plain that in so they cooperate to our advantage. They do it not according to their own abilities, but they are subservient to him that commands him or commands them, to whom alone we ought justly to offer our honor and thanksgiving. For which doctrines, when the Chaldeans and other Mesopotamians raised a tumult against, he thought it fit to leave their country, and at the command and by the assistance of God, he came and lived in the land of Canaan, and when he was there, settled he built an altar and performed a sacrifice to the Almighty. So here, what Josephus's reasoning is that this is, reportedly oral history, is that he was getting into these confrontations with the people who worship the sun, moon, and stars, and were like, look, this thing can't even, like, the sun don't just arbitrarily go down at noon. It don't do what it wants to do. And this is telling you that it's something higher that regulates it. So we need to find out and worship and be obedient to the thing that regulates the thing that y'all worshiping. Same thing with the waters, as I expressed. Unless it's some freak accident like a tsunami, a typhoon, that water goes right to the border of the beach. The waves on the sand, take some water, draw the sand back in, do it again. It does that all day and night. Then some freak accident like a flood happens, decimates an environment, and that water goes right back where it's supposed to go. Like, yeah, sir, that's some other power, and we know it all, and that means we are convinced of it. We need to be obedient to whatever that power is asking us to do. And he sought to find out what that was. So that's an important element of, I don't know why people don't have faith. Like, I don't control no water. I can't even stop it from raining. It's just raining all on me. You're just subject to it. Naya, I see a hand. Yes.
Shalom. Super duper good study. I really like the element that you kind of drew attention to about what practically the substance of faith is, particularly Abraham, right? Like we don't think about it often, but in order for Yitzhak to have been born at any point, he would have had to continue to have sex with his wife, and she would have had to, more importantly, continue to have sex with him. And so, one of the things that I think is really important, we were talking about this when we were looking at the birth of Shemiel as well, is that there's this element of productive behavior that's necessary in order, even in the face of contrary or oppositional opinions. I think when we're talking about why we fear and things of that nature, I heard this saying once, right? That you have a 100% success rate or pass rate for every obstacle in your life thus far. And I would go so far as to extend that to the Most High has delivered you from 100% of the problems that you have faced. Otherwise, you would be dead. And so we oftentimes think about the things that we're facing, and not that bad things won't happen to us, but there has never been anything that you have gone through that has overcome you. Every situation you've ever been in, the Most High has delivered you from. And if it were not so, then you wouldn't be in the land of the living. And so, and if it ever is the case, then it won't matter to you much because you'll be dead. So you might as well go ahead and double down on standing on what it is that he's saying because he has been the one to deliver you. I mean, just statistically, you think about everyone that you know who has passed prior to this. Um, there's a reason why he delivered you. I'm not saying he didn't deliver them because they didn't deserve it, but he has chosen to deliver you. And so why would he fail to bring you to an expected end in this scenario that you're currently facing that you're so trepidatious or afraid of, you know? Anyway, thank you.
Oh yeah. Look at Genesis 18:12. I was just covering this past week. 18 and 11.
I can read it.
Oh yeah, you can, or she can read it.
Oh, sorry.
Either way, either one make a difference.
All right, verse 11. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah was past the way of women.
So the plain view of this is that women, around the age of, I don't know, nowadays it's 9, but 12, 16, they start a menstrual cycle. And then somewhere in today's modern age, around 50 or 60, they stop that cycle. Sarah was past, it ceased with her after the manner of women. If you do not have a cycle, you cannot have a child, right? Now, again, people may think that's something different. Look it up. Show me. I might could be mistaken. So it ceased after her of the manner of women, right? She was old and well stricken in age or years. Verse 12.
And Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my master, being old too?
So am I really about to have sex with my husband and produce a child? Like that, to her, even it sounded like, nah, we don't even, at a certain age. I mean, I think my grandmother and grandfather stopped even sleeping in the bed together at a certain age. They probably was like 55, 60, and they started sleeping in separate beds. And then, my grandmother just died at like 96, and my grandfather died a lot earlier, but they weren't even sleeping in the same bed with each other. Am I about to have a child at 90? It sounded, when you put yourself in the seat of it happening, she's like, yo, we don't even have sex for pleasure anymore, right? We just old people now. And again, Abraham died at 175. Sarah died a lot earlier. So it was reasonable in her mind. Like, yeah, that don't even sound logical. But yet and still, them two old people jumped in the bed. And again, did it happen the first time they did it? Did it happen the 19th time they did it? Whatever, we know that they did the activity to get the result. And Abraham was convinced. At first he wasn't. Like, hey, man, should a child be born to a man that's 100 years old? Uh, he showed lay with his wife to get the result though. And again, there's no evidence that I can read like, oh, the first time he laid with her, they got the result. Seems like it could have took, you know, could have at least took 3 months because the child was born like literally about a year later from the time it happened. So yeah, it's interesting when you read it. Um, and then I was reading this text before, and I'll just kind of pop over to maybe it's Romans chapter 4. I think it's Romans. This is interesting. Um, Romans 4 and verse 17. Yeah, Romans 4 and verse 17.
I could take it. As it has been written, I have made you a father of many nations, in the presence of him whom he believed, even Elohim, who gives life to the dead and calls that which does not exist as existing.
So think about this giving life to the dead. And you can think about the person who's physically dead, but also look at it how Abraham's body parts were considered dead, and Sarah's body parts were considered dead, meaning no life was coming out of them, right? So he's talking about this quickening or rising from the dead in this context. Verse 18.
Who against all expectations did not believe in expectation, so that he should become father of many nations according
It said, do not believe in that text.
to what was
Verse 18.
verse 18 says, against all expectations, oh sorry, did believe.
Oh, I'm about to say, she see, you got to throw that book away already, man. I told you. All right. All right. That's cool. It was a reading error. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, that's on me. Just want to test y'all.
Yeah, you got to be, that's why you have a reader to make sure that, what's being said. Um, so yeah, against all expectation, did believe, right?
Mhm. Did believe in expectation, so that he should become father of many nations, according to what was said, so shall your seed be.
So he was expected to be the father of many nations, but he still had no child by his wife. Like you can't become a father of many nations and you don't even got a child. Like, okay, Hagar, granted, they was doing what they was doing, but How is you gonna be the father of many nations, man? You still don't got no children. You're not even having sex with your wife. It looks like it's over. Verse 19.
And not having grown weak in belief, he did not consider his own body already dead, being about 100 years old, and the deadness of Sarah's womb.
Sarah's womb was dead, meaning she wasn't bearing children. He wasn't even considerate of that. He still, all right, Sarah, let's do it one more time. I don't even know if he was old like that, but it's just, and verse 20 says, he staggered not at the promises through unbelief, but was strong in faith, giving glory to Elohim. So, this ideal of faith, again, it requires action. You got to be convinced it's going to happen. You convinced you're going to get the result, and you got to do the activity. That's emunah, that's faith. Jalen, I saw your hand up a little earlier. I'm over here yapping.
Yeah. I don't mean to get off subject, but something just came to mind. Um, I was just thinking about, this whole concept of fear as well. And another thing is, that you see in the scriptures, man, is that fear will make you do crazy things too. Like it'll make you do like I thought about King Saul. So he was terrified when he seen all those Philistines, and so he made him go talk to a witch, and he thought that, so he tried to get this witch to bring Shemuel uh back to, I don't know what happened. I don't know how practical we take that. I don't know if he was just seeing things, or if she actually spoke him up or what. But he went and did that instead of just trusting in the Most High. Like, so it'll make you do crazy stuff like that. And so yeah, I just thought about that story. I was like, man, think about all the times when you might have been scared, or you might have been like, um, you trying to like figure something out, like, oh, like you in this frantic mode of like, what should you do? And it distorts your decision making. You start doing all kind of
That's a
crazy
good way to
stuff.
put
Yeah, so
That's a
I just
very
thought
good way
about
to
that
put it.
too.
That's a very good way to put it. It distorts your decision making. That is a very, very good way to put it. And dang, that's a good way to put it. It distorts your decision making. And like, shoot, the amount of people I talk to that's just cowards. And again, we just did a Bible study on cowardness. Man, it's like they just as abominable as homosexuals, according to, the way the creator would look at it. He do not, even in Revelation, the fearful and unbelieving and all liars shall have their part in the lake that burneth with fire and brimstone. Like, why are you afraid? Why are you so, yeah, and it distorts your decision making. I just don't know what's gonna happen, so I'm gonna go do this. Come on, man. And I'm probably extremely biased for the most part because I don't know, I've just been brainwashed to have faith. And like probably a measure of it that everybody has a different measure of faith. I mean, that's what the text says. So if people don't have, like if I got 60% faith and somebody else got 70% faith, somebody else got 20% faith, then the 20% need to hang around the 60 percenters, so to speak, um, to increase faith because it has to be difficult. I know it's difficult for me. It agitates me when people get afraid and don't believe. Well, I don't know how it's going to happen. Listen, man, it's going to happen by us doing our part, and the rest, that's all on him. That's all on him. But it's definitely not going to happen if we sit here with our hands under our buttocks. We got to get up and do something.
Yeah.
Got to get up and do something.